Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Fleekazoid Podcast, 2024 edition. Woohoo! This is going to be for the people who do care whenever I take a long absence. I'm going to keep my ting brief, but I am sorry that I have not made a podcast in almost 6 months. Girl, I'm so tired. I work a full-time job now. I don't know if people know that, but yeah, we'll move on. Today's topic is going to be one that I wrote from 2023. I actually have a lot of topics I wrote in 2023 that haven't gotten their shine. So today's going to be the day where this one does get to come out. It's going to start off a little chill. It's going to get very, very real. And then we're going to tie it up with how you know that you've adjusted to living alone or even just being alone. As always, or well, what should be an as always mention, I'm not a therapist. This is going to be based on my personal experience and how I process these things. Enjoy the episode. I've overcome the need to be in a limerent relationship or to be in a limerent state. I've realized being in a state of limerence is like a lie, like feeling like, oh my God, I need to always have someone or always like be a part of something that's like obsessive worthy. That's the lie of limerence. So I've really taken a lot of enjoyment out of being by myself. And I've even gotten to a place where like FOMO has very little impact on me. And so much of that is because, yes, I was able to actually like live out what I thought I was missing out on. And, you know, not everybody gets that opportunity. Let me give you the perspective today of why I am totally at peace with being alone. And even though I wrote this 1 year ago, I resonate with it today still. So this was like in the early stages when I was really starting to feel this. Right now, I can say I still feel everything that I wrote down. I'm going to read it off in like a list and I'll have some insight in between. Number 1. I'm not afraid of it because I am in good company. Even if everybody is busy and everyone is out of town and no one is available, I am still in good fucking company with myself. Even if it takes me a little bit longer to get through something or to self-soothe and find the right tools. I got me and I'm gonna start another day like it's a brand new leaf. So yeah, if you're in good company, you have nothing to worry about when it comes to being alone. Now we're gonna move on to point number 2. Even if where I'm headed isn't 100% clear to me, I still have goals that are very like definite and concrete that I can reach. And I always have something that I need to do. Like I'm never bored. Truly, genuinely, I can actually be distracted by someone else just kind of like coming in and interrupting that. Like if somebody hits me up last minute for a party, but it's like, dude, I needed to spend this day cleaning my apartment. Honestly, bitch, I'm cleaning the apartment. Sometimes I just gotta do it. Also, like there are things about my life that can be thrown off by one day. Like maybe I go out to party and then I'm sick for the entire next day. So then like the apartment stays dirty and then like I'm living in filth for a whole week. Well, it's like a fucking work week. I mean, every week's a work week for me now since I'm full time, but like especially that, like it can throw off like more than just that one day for me. So I'm never like, oh, like I hope I get a last minute opportunity. Like no, the best thing that could happen to me is for me to stay home and clean. To me, goals come in all shapes and forms and they do not discriminate. If it has value to me, it's a motherfucking goal. Like I don't let anybody tell me what I should feel good about and what type of goal I should set for myself. And you shouldn't either. There are people who go into a state of actual physical pain because they do not know what to do with themselves when they are by themselves. And it's because they don't set themselves some daily to weekly to monthly to yearly goals, which is why they like spending their time around other people because usually another person can start setting the goals for them. And then that can be rewarding in and of itself. If you know how to set goals, skip the next 26 seconds of what I'm about to say. Let me teach you how to set some that you can achieve in a day. The ones that you can achieve in a day are going to be the stuff that you can do around your house, to your car, shit that you can get on top of like your paperwork in your life, like your car insurance or I don't know, maybe your credit cards. Then you want to set some stuff that you can do in a week. Weekly goals are the stuff that you do want to give yourself time to achieve. So it's that shit that you're not going to be able to achieve in one day, maybe like in the span of 3 to 4. This is your opportunity to set some goals to feed your mind, maybe even to feed your body by doing some workouts. You can even set financial goals this way, like, hey, I'm not going to spend this week. So that's your type of like weekly goals activities. And those are the stuff that, yes, if you set these daily to weekly ones, your life will improve. Anyways, the long-term ones are going to be the stuff that generally guide you towards the ultimate direction that you're heading in. So these can be your big crazy ass dreams. This is where having the stability and consistency of the daily to weekly goals is going to set you up for success. Because eventually, if you know what you want and you are doing nothing but going towards it and making all the decisions that feed your brain, your body, your mind, and you're being easy on your soul and to yourself, It's inevitable that it's going to be yours. It's going to happen for you. And if you don't even get that exact thing that you want, you get so damn close, it counts, bitch. So that's point number 2. I'm rooted in where I'm headed, and I'm rooted in my goals. They can change too, by the way. So feel free to keep changing your goals if at any point you stop aligning with them. Number 3, having bad people around you is worse than having no people at all. I feel like I've been screaming this one from the rooftops for a few years, but I'm gonna say it again. Ultimately, you want to be with people who are aligned with you, and you want to be with people who feed your soul and your spirit and your body and your mind, and people who are like able to have interdependent relationships with you and who aren't codependent with you. I also think that like I don't need friends to sit around and do nothing with personally. I feel like I can do nothing and think nothing and be nothing all by myself. Sometimes there are people that you do want to have no thoughts, no vibes, no energy around, but like I'm a thinker, I'm a talker. I like thinkers and talkers. And look, just because you have people surrounded by you doesn't mean that they're all good people for you. Some women are envious, some women are plotting on your downfall, and I'm not saying that to be paranoid, but like you are better off and are more on track with your life without the distractions of people who genuinely don't like you and who want to pull you down. Like there are people who are so fucking crazy, they will literally be talking shit about you and continuously inviting you out. Like when you feel like somebody hates you or you feel like somebody doesn't like you, the vibes, Chico, they don't lie. You in danger. Get away from that person. Wean back the relationship if you have the opportunity to, because we can't just always cut people off. I'm aware of that. Start setting up some boundaries and distancing yourself. Having all these people around you is not improving your life. Sometimes you get more shit done and you make the leaps and bounds that you need to make when you get the fuck away from all the bad actors. You really only need 1 or 2 writers in your life. You don't need a gaggle of fake ass half loving people around you. And let's say you do actually start to like see success in your life, or maybe you're already at that place and you're just kind of like needing this as a reminder. People will actually become so envious that they will KILL you if you outlevel them. It's why eventually people who are influencers do end up moving to LA or New York to go be around their own kind, because they have so many small town haters who don't like the fact that they're like living larger than them in the same city. Like you need to trust your gut when you feel like somebody doesn't like you, and it's okay to not mess with them. Even if they're sitting there inviting you out, acting like your friend, wanting you there for every event and every occasion, trust the moments when they've been a bad friend to you. Trust the moments when they've had an opportunity to help you, but they outright sabotaged you or they let you flounder. They need to be stopped immediately, and it stops with you. This next point, point 4, is called becoming your own best friend. The moment that I became my own best friend, I realized that I always was. And that was like something that happened to me at 8 years old. And yes, unfortunately, it did come through an act of betrayal. I think that's how most people get to that place. And yeah, there are those moments in life where you're reminded why you should stay your best friend. And it's like, ooh, that should have never changed. Keep it that way, okay? It's gonna make being alone so much easier. It's actually something you can celebrate when you're coming from an empowered place and you're not like coming from that wounded place of, I became my own best friend because I can't trust anybody with my secrets or my emotions or my thoughts. But even as your own best friend, it's okay to admit that you're bad at keeping your own secrets. I say this as myself and with everything that I do on here online. It's actually my therapy, but as my own best friend, I owe myself the therapy. So that's how I'm rationalizing that. And we can move on to the next point now. Saving money. Okay, this is the best part of being alone. You save money, you save gas, you save resources. And you don't spend to be around people and places that you're not passionate about. I used to have so much fear in the past about not being out on a Friday or Saturday night, like it meant something about me. I don't feel that way anymore today though, and I'm so glad I don't. I don't find fulfillment in being anywhere that I'm not absolutely passionate about. Like, I think that might be the little bit of the limerent lie that still lives within me, but I have to find some type of interest in being outside, and simply being outside isn't enough. Simply being seen out in public looking cute isn't enough. If anything, more eyes land on me when I do it online. It's almost better to just do it on the internet. Maybe I let the internet see me outside looking cute and then I scurry back home like the rat I am. That's about as far as it goes for me now. I'm aware of what fulfills me, and it's not the act of being out in the streets. I need to be in absolute connection with the people that I'm with and with the location that I'm at. Like, it has to mean something to me. And if it doesn't mean something to me and I'm not connected to it, why am I spending money on it? Like, no. Keep your money, babe. Save it. It's gonna go further in your bank account. I'm not about to let anybody make me feel bad for investing my money in something that I don't find value in. And even when it goes beyond just showing up for the activity that they find value in, that they wanna make you feel bad about, Then they want to make you feel bad about the money related to it. Like, you know what? I'm not going meat for meat with you. Yeah, congratulations, you got me. I'm broke. That's a superiority complex that I'm not going to try to satisfy. I'm moving on with my life. You should too. Point number 6 in the art of being alone is that when you eagerly and aggressively want something, you can accidentally put out energy that actually repels it away from you. You see this with women who are looking for escapism from their life with a man, specifically the ones who think that a man's gonna soothe them through all of their emotional highs and lows, somebody who's gonna bring them that emotional stability and care and comfort that they think that they bring other people, which they probably do. When you not only want something, but you need it codependently, you want it like you want a religion, that's going to repel people. That's actually kind of unhealthy. It's the type of unhealthy that healthy people notice. I'm not saying this to be judgmental, but the fact that you are so against the idea of being alone and that you are fighting it and that you are putting out that energy that being alone is not only uncomfortable, but like a terrifying end goal for you, you're going to attract a lot of people who are equally as anxious and eager, just as you are, who are very forgiving of that behavior from you. And like, baby, I hate to say it, but sometimes people who are this eager and anxious to avoid being alone are sometimes the hardest people to be around. Why? Because point number 1, they're never in good company with themselves. So they're not going to be in good company with you. And I know the word never is a stretch, but like they want to run away from their lives. They want to escape their emotions. They want to escape their troubles and their woes, which obviously like who doesn't? But like the fact that they're looking for all of that through a person or through a social dynamic, it's not the cure. It's not the end all be all. Even though like when all of your relationships in your life get right, a lot of other things can fall into place. And yes, you know what? There are some people straight up acting a fool in society because they are unloved. I know because I was one of them while I was a teenager. But acting a fool because you're unloved is a grander symptom of something else that's lacking. Like romantic love is not going to be the only cure. Romantic love will tame that temporarily. Eventually, you're going to have a weak spot in some other part of your foundation where romantic love isn't going to cut it anymore. And that's where you end up repelling people in ways that are toxic and unhealthy that you don't even realize that you're doing. The next point on my list is the art of minding your business. Point number 7. This one's important to me because minding my own business brought me so much peace. It was the act of becoming aware of what I consume. Not just like, oh, the people around me's business. Sometimes engaging with internet drama or just knowing what drama is happening in someone's sphere is too much for me. Sometimes the only drama that I have the energy to worry about and consume is my own. And that's okay. I said this before in my episode about being a doomer. You can't save other people if you haven't saved yourself. You need to make sure you're well slept, that you've eaten all your food, that you're doing your meditations, you're going on your walks, you're making sure that you're on your game before you can make sure anybody else is actually hitting their game. So by prioritizing your own business and what's going on in your own life, and no, this doesn't mean outright ignoring everything that doesn't concern you, you step away from the noise and you get back to the things that make you you. And maybe not even like today you. Sometimes it can be 13-year-old you. It could be the core parts of yourself that never left you, no matter how many changes you actually went through. The times when you get away from this core version of yourself is when you're taking on other people's anxiety, you're fighting their battles for them, you're getting involved in whatever rage community or rage bait that they have going on, or you're deciding to invite conflict in your life where it did not start. This is like the proverbial version of getting involved in a dogfight and getting bitten. Like some people just do this all the time with everybody else's nonsense. And you know it's nonsense because if it had never entered your sphere, or you never adopted that anxiety, or you never made that fight yours, you were better off for it. Your life improved because you stayed out of it. It's kind of like if somebody's passed out on the street and they already have 2 or 3 people with them, it doesn't make sense for like 20 other people to come around who can't actually help, who just start gawking and talking and making noise around that person. Like you can make a stressful situation worse by getting involved in it for yourself and for the situation. So when I am by myself and I realize that the only person's business I'm in is my own, I feel like, good. Like the only time I'm seeking out someone else's business is if I am so genuinely bored, it has become my entertainment, not my life purpose. And realize that some people make other people's business their life purpose. Go back to making your business your life purpose and watch how you will never be bored or ever have a moment of free time again. The next point is being your authentic self. Point 8. Just when you thought you knew yourself after traveling or after living with other people or maybe after living with your parents and being in your mid-20s, you realize that there's a whole new version of yourself that you haven't unlocked, the version of you that lives alone. While every version of you is obviously authentically you, this is one that unlocks the doors for conversations that you've never had and self-permission that you have to give yourself like you've never given yourself before. Like we talked about being your own best friend in the last few points, this is where you really feel the act of being your own best friend. This is arguably where you even become your own mom, dad, or sister. And this is because you have to give yourself self-permission, you have to give yourself self-restraint, and you have to be the gatekeeper of whose opinion you're gonna value and give a fuck about and actually let influence you. Because some people will give you horrible advice. And to the credit of the people who are scared of being alone, it's true. Just because you become all alone in your apartment or your home or whatever situation you're in, doesn't mean that you are your favorite version of yourself. You might actually just be your most primal and hard to be around. The question would be, did you become this way because you're in survival mode when you live alone? Did you become this way because it felt rewarding or fulfilling to act out or engage in a certain activity that ultimately wasn't fulfilling for you? You're gonna have a lot of feelings and you're gonna make a lot of mistakes, and there's gonna be some shit that breaks or something that you do that is irreparable in your home space. And honestly, self-forgiveness is going to carry you through. The sooner you can learn it, the more adjusted you're going to be to living alone and finding the art and the peace in it and happiness with yourself. And let's say maybe it's not about you even living alone. Let's say maybe you don't have a friend group right now or you don't have a family group. When you are not influenced by other people, you get to find out what you really like, what you're really interested in, and what's true to you that brings you authentic, genuine enjoyment and fulfillment. So maybe you don't have the proverbial space of actually being in your own apartment or your own home, but you're gonna have the space of not having that man or that group or that circle that was telling you what to think, what to feel, and what's actually fun to do as a group. You get to find out what you actually wanna be a part of. And let's take this away from even romantic situations or family ones. If you leave a religion or if you leave a workspace that was cult-like, that feeling of isolation can trigger a new set of DNA to branch off in you. This can be a very romantic time for yourself as an individual. But it has to be a time where there is intention and there's guidance. Don't raw dog this experience and hope that you're just gonna one day wake up and be happy with being alone. If you've been told your entire life that being alone is the most fucked up thing that can ever happen to you and you're gonna die and this is the worst thing that could ever be, you're going to need guidance. You're going to need to have a general outline of where you will go mentally and where you will not go. Even the places that you will take yourself to, babe, it doesn't mean anything about you, okay? You don't have worth because you have a lot of people around you. You have worth because you bring worth to situations everywhere you go because of who you are and who you show up as. Something that I struggled with when I first started living alone was the act of regression. I just didn't want to work on myself. I didn't think I was worthy of the book or the walk or the workout. I'm still actually trying to get some of that habitual behavior back. Momentum builds momentum though. And the second that you start to put yourself on that track of better self-talk, guidance with your aloneness, acceptance with who you are when you are alone, the more that you make those moves and you train yourself to behave that way in your own solitude and in your own lifestyle, you're gonna become a well-adjusted person to the circumstance. And you're gonna find so much joy in the act of living alone that it's gonna make you wonder why anybody ever tried to make you afraid of it. I hate to interrupt the Fleekazoid experience, but I am going to put a sponsor right here in the next 10 seconds. I'll be right back with the closing chapter of this podcast. Now, to put a bow on that point and to move on from it, what I would like to say is that you are going to have so many moments in this life where you are going to be 100% alone. And guess what? They are going to be your most favorite moments. You're even going to probably prefer it down the road. And once you finally get to this place of acceptance and you can celebrate your aloneness, here's how you're gonna know that you really made it to the other side. Let me read these next few points off. And this was one big mega giant list. Now I've officially lost track. If that was technically point number 8, I guess this next one would be point 9. But in my book, it looks like 14. These are the things that are going to happen to you when you finally are at peace with it. You are going to be so selective about who gets to interrupt your alone time and who gets to have a piece of your time, period. It's going to be an honor to interfere with your lonely special hours and days. The next thing that's going to happen is that you are going to wake up early just to have more alone time with yourself. Even on a work day where you have to wake up at 7 a.m., you're gonna be up at 6 a.m. just to give yourself that hour because that alone time is going to feel so sacred and nourishing to you. The next thing that's going to happen is that these moments of solitude will still feel rewarding and necessary, but they won't feel like punishment to you. Nobody can threaten you with your own isolation. The next cool thing that's gonna happen is that you are going to gain what I call a silent confidence. You don't have to be loud. You don't have to be in anybody's face. You don't even have to be active 24/7. Your confidence will speak for itself and it will radiate even though you are quiet. The next thing that's gonna happen is that you're gonna realize how much you can accomplish in one space alone. Whether that's the things you get done, the moves you make on the back end of your life, or the stuff that you're building up and that you're up to in your own home creatively. The next thing that's going to happen to you is that you are going to be one of your favorite people to spend time with. Period. Nobody else compares. Everybody's going to be competing with you versus you. And of course, we have a need for connection. We can feel abandoned and isolated and punished by our alone time. It can be so scary to be faced with your solitude if you've never been in that position before. But if you run towards it and you embrace it and you romanticize the fuck out of it and you go into it with intention, you will come out a stronger person on the other side. And you will actually adapt to it and grow to love it. So that's today's episode on not being afraid to be alone and not being afraid of your own solitude, how I've come to enjoy it and why I don't think it's the worst thing that could ever happen to you. Of course, you're gonna need connection with people. Of course, you're gonna need friends. You should rely on people around you and you should ask for help. You don't always have to do everything alone. But if you are in a position where you are entering aloneness for the first time, you might wonder why you haven't done it for yourself sooner. And it's not something that you should run away from, especially if you're chronically around other people and you're maybe even coming out of your era of decentering men. So I hope today's episode helped you guys out and I hope you guys enjoyed it. It was kind of a longer one for what we've been up to lately. So thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening. If you guys like my content, I am Fleeksy on Instagram and TikTok and Twitter, which is now X. And you can even find me on Threads now as Fleeksy. I put all these episodes up on YouTube, so go ahead and leave any comments that you would like to directly under there. And on YouTube, because I'm an original queen, you can find me under the Fleekazoid podcast. I also have some other accounts associated with it that I need to brush the dust off of in due time. I would appreciate the follow, and if you like me and you're still listening, go ahead and leave me a 5-star rating, preferably on this podcast, whether you're on Spotify or Apple. It recommends me to other people, and it's a way to support me for $0. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you guys have a great day. Bye.